Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. If you guys are new here, my name is Dion. I'm a photographer. As you can tell on the channel, I do K-pop reaction, K-pop commentary on photo shoots and whatnot. But I also, if you don't know, I also watch foreign dramas. And the genre I watch is called BL, which stands for Boys Love, if you didn't know already. And I wanted to use today's video to kind of talk about that because I have all these feelings, I have all these reservations, I have all these, and I just want to talk about how I feel about the genre, being a reactor, the fandom, and what I'm going to do with my content pertaining to it moving forward. So, first things first, I started reacting. Well, let me say this. I started watching these shows back in, I want to say 2015 or 2016. The first drama I watched was a Chinese drama called Addicted. And that was my first, you know, show I got into it. I think I might have watched it twice. I know I've watched it twice actually. And after that, I was so fascinated with this genre of shows. And then the first Thai drama, which the second drama I've ever watched in this genre, is called Two Moons. Now, that one is a pretty popular one. It even got a second series, Two Moons 2, with a whole new cast, which caused lots of controversy. It was a whole situation. Um, but after watching that show, I really, really enjoyed it. I watched it three times, actually. Three times. Two on my own and one with one of my peers. And then after that, I watched all kinds of dramas. Sodas, Waterboy, Make It Right, Lovesick, the OGs, like the OG Foundation shows. I watched those. Um, and I got to the point where I was watching Love by Chance, which is how I discovered Alex. If you guys don't know, Alex is also a YouTuber. His main focus on his channel is these dramas. And I started watching his videos, doing reactions to it. And that's how I kind of discovered my peers I know now, because Alex in one of his videos did a shout out to Chelsea, which you guys may know, and he also was tweeting Alyssa, which you guys also may or may not know. She's been on my channel before. Actually, all three of them have been on my channel. Oh wait, not Chelsea. Ooh, okay. So I met them already. I met them at KCON, and I did videos. But one day, wait, yes, one day I was doing videos with everyone, but Chelsea wasn't there. I'm on her channel though. I've been on her channel, but she hasn't been on mine yet, like physically in person. Ooh, I know it's not. I wasn't being shady, but she had something else to do at KCON. She couldn't join us, and but anyways, after meeting Alex, I was kind of taken in the idea of doing these dramas. Now, mind you, my content is reacting to K-pop. That's the main focus of the channel for a long time, and it still is. But I was like, well, it kind of goes together because Alex, he does do K-pop reaction, so does Chelsea and Alyssa. They just do it less than I do. I would say I major in the K-pop and minor in the BL, and they are the opposites basically. And I was like, okay, let me just think about it. And I was really debating, but when Tarn Type came out, which is the prequel sequel to Love by Chance, that was my chance. I was like, should I do it? Should I not? I don't know. I don't want to jump on the bandwagon because they're doing it, but also, honestly, that was my reason. I did it because they did it. I just thought it was so cool how people came up to Alex, and you know, I already had people come up to me and knew me from my YouTube channel because of the K-pop reactions, but no one ever. I never knew you could dip into more realms of YouTube, and I was like, should I do it? I don't know. Um, but we did watch. What did we watch? We watched something. What did we watch? Was it three will be free? I think we watched that. That's the night we watched that during that trip. It was fun and it was a good time. I was like, oh, I kind of like doing reactions to shows. Like this was fun. It was fun. So I did it. I ended up doing Tarn Type season one, and it was very interesting because the genre the glaring issues with the genre were apparent to me, but I didn't really face those issues really because I was watching on my own or watching with a friend, and it was just I was watching for what it was. But when you start doing reactions and giving commentary, and then you get feedback on what you're saying, you're getting feedback on what people thought of the show themselves, different types of people, it gets all the glaring issues. You can see them; they're enhanced, right? They're enhanced. They're on the forefront now. And basically, this is kind of like what how my journey becoming a reactor was to these shows because it wasn't what I thought it was going to be. Kind of the main issue was the content of the show is very it can be very upsetting. There's a lot of consent issues. There's a lot of stereotypes and tropes that are very, very dated. Mind you, I've watched a bunch of these shows, so I know the tropes and the stereotypes and the plot points these shows go by. And I just, even though I can enjoy the show for what it is, I can still criticize characters' actions and what's going on. Now, I'm not bashing the show per se, but I am criticizing the characters. And Tarntide was the show to do it. That these two characters, their dynamic and everything that happened from the beginning was I couldn't deal with it. I had it was a lot, it was a lot, and what ended up happening was I was voicing my opinions in a way where I was not really rooting for the couple. I vocalized my discomfort with them. And I was not with it. I was not shipping it, and which it goes against what the show was setting out to do, what the show is supposed to do, tell a story. A love story is a romance show. And I was just not liking what the characters were doing to each other, how they were acting, all that good stuff. So I voiced that. Not bashing the show per se, but the characters' action and all that stuff. And it's fiction, so like it's fine. However, it wasn't fine. It was made apparent to me that I kind of rub people the wrong way with my criticism to the point where I had to coin a phrase called novel thumpers. It's based on people who are Bible thumpers who like to preach and go to your house and preach and stuff like that. It's based on that because lots of the show, I guess, cut out some of the stuff or lots of the stuff that was in the novel, or the novel had more context of scenes that seemed uncomfortable. And a lot of times, especially in the first few episodes, people will be in the comment section. Even one of my peers was in the comment section, kind of like dragging me for not knowing what happened in the novel, dragging me for not seeing this point of view from the novel's point of view, or they cut this or explaining these things. Which, on one half, I didn't mind that. I don't mind knowing what actually happened in the novel versus the show, but I also was not here for, you know, people being complacent or okay with these characters' actions because in the novel it gave more context. And I'm like, I'm not watching the novel, I'm watching the show. I'm reacting to what the show is showing me. So coming at me sideways is not it. And especially when it started to get very gross. This is what really made me realize this fandom and this genre really had a very, I guess, disgusting mindset on couples and relationships and how you should go in a relationship, how you should act, how you should do things. And I think everyone should act the way they want to act and do what they want to do in a relationship. I do believe that. However, I feel like when it comes to I don't want to get demonetized, but certain types of assaults, it ain't. I'm not with it. I don't romanticize someone doing something to someone else without their consent or forcing themselves on them. And with Tarn Type, there was a lot of that. Type's character was very aggressive and he was using derogatory slurs, which I was not liking him. He was getting on my nerves. Oh my gosh, he was awful. And I get his backstory. I sympathize with him in a way because of that, and I see why he's so brash with it. But also, the people he was acting towards or putting that energy towards, they didn't deserve it. You know what I mean? So I was like, okay, you're doing a lot. And then Tarn, which he's painted as the more likable one of the two, but when he was forcing himself on top of him and forcing himself to do these things, and I know he was getting back at him because he was, being discriminated against, so he was kind of like pushing against, which I'm like, okay, but also he started the scene. The thing is, the scene in the shower when he forced himself upon type and did what he did. That was kind of like it was kind of like the point where I had to say something. I had to do a PSA, right? I believe it was episode 3 I did. I remember being like sick that day, I believe. And I did a PSA in the beginning. I was like, I was disgusted because somebody said in the comment section, oh, well, type it and push him off of him. So that means he liked it. Disgusting, 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 disgusting. I was mortified when I saw that. And I was like, I have to say something about this. So I did. So I said, I don't care what the novel said. I don't care the context. I don't care that you feel like because someone who's went through a certain trauma, they allowed someone to do something, it was okay for that person to do it. It was the person wanted it to happen. Like all that kind of mentality is to me disgusting, and it's something that's more apparent now, watching all these shows and seeing where they leave comments and seeing all these things. Um, it's kind of like I kind of feel I kind of feel it was a start of me distancing myself with these type of shows. Not completely because I just started reacting, but like I was kind of like seeing it from a point of view where I was like, oh my gosh, like I can understand it's fiction and like I can say I'm not with this that, and the third. I'm not with these types of things that are happening, but I can still enjoy what's happening, you know. But the fact that there's so many people that I'm interacting with that are like coming at me sideways and are like you're romanticizing this situation, I feel weird and gross. However, after I left, not left, after I had that PSA, things started to shift. Lots of people who are a bit older, my age, or kind of see my point of view, started leaving comments and started really making reacting to the show better for me because I feel like the best part of doing these show reactions is the engagement with everyone, everyone's thoughts and opinions, everyone's points of view. I love reading the comments and talking about stuff. I especially love when I make a point and kind of do like a little not PSA, but like kind of like talk about things and someone can like kind of relate or kind of understand my point of view because I do have like a mindset that a lot of people are watching these shows are kind of like on the young side, and they tend to be. These shows are geared towards 13-year-olds, 14-year-olds for the most part. I mean, more modern shows the people who are watching it are older, and you can tell the target audience based on what the setting of the show is an older crowd, which I do appreciate now. But people who already watch the teen characters and the college age characters, I do, but I started to see a shift in things. I was like, okay, cool, and I was really getting into it. It was really good time. Now I started watching Why Are You, and let me tell y'all, that was the best time ever reacting to a show. When I tell you, I was having a good time reacting. My commentary, I felt like I was hilarious. I wasn't trying to be funny per se. It's just my response to things was funny. So when I was editing the video back and kind of, seeing my reaction to the show, I was cracking up. And then everybody was in the comment section quoting me, and it was just the best time. That show, even though I'm cringe at watching my reactions to it now because of the camera quality. I wasn't using my camera. I wasn't using a mic. I was using my phone, and the camera quality and the audio quality reflected that. That's the only thing I really don't like about my Why Are You reactions. Other than that, it was the best time. Me and my peers are watching the show. We were all reacting and posting. It felt like a really good community. It made me really, 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 really just dive in deep and have a good time with the genre, right? Now, what I did was one of the episodes, I believe, I'm not sure why. It might have been because of the pandemic. I'm not sure why, but why did they do this? Well, anyways, during the show's run of Why Are You, they had an episode where they kind of had like behind the scenes of an episode, the previous episode, I believe, because they needed more time to film because of, I forgot what the reason was. I feel like it was because of you know, the pandemic, but my timelines were all the whole year 2020. It was a weird year, and I don't know because I started using my camera before that, so I don't know. I don't know. I keep forgetting when I started using my camera and when things started slowing down for these dramas in the filming. But anyways, the point is, on that particular episode, before I started, I asked everyone how they felt about my reaction videos because someone left a comment on the video saying they feel like I didn't like the show, why am I watching it, and yada yada yada. So I asked everyone how they felt about me, which I kind of knew already. It's already seen as a given that you should act a certain way during your reactions. And this is no shade to my peers, but a common thread with all these reactors is very enthusiastic reactions to intimate scenes, very enthusiastic reactions to, revelations and moments, and the couple getting together and kind of rooting for them. Everyone's screaming, everyone's shouting, everyone is shook, shaken, and stirred. And my reactions, for the most part, it can come off kind of like I'm disgusted or annoyed because most times I feel like if you haven't earned it yet for these characters, some characters are awful and they're like enemies to lovers, which I like enemies to lovers, but I kind of like it when they're both enemies to each other and they become lovers rather than is one side like a bully situation. I'm not with that, but usually I kind of like it when it's kind of slowly showing a changing character before they get together. If they don't do that yet and it's already trying to be like all cutesy with it, I'm like, cut the cameras, get out my face because I'm not with it. Which turns people off. I understand. I understand I'm not acting like how my peers are. I'm not doing what they're doing. So it puts people off and they're kind of like, even when they might agree with my criticism, they kind of feel like they can't enjoy a show because of maybe the content that's shown that's not on the right side of things that are kind of terrible. They feel like they feel guilty, so they kind of lash out against me because of that. And I'm like, you can still like the show. I still like these shows regardless of the content. I just feel like you still can criticize characters for acting a fool. In my opinion, you still can. Um, so, and people let me know that. People let me know they stopped watching my videos for a while, but they came back because they realized this that, and the third, which I appreciate. I appreciate the honesty, and I appreciate how very candid and respectful people were about it, saying they didn't like what I was saying, how I was going about it. But also, I did like the fact that a lot of them came around and was like, you know what, I really enjoyed your real world point of view on how, if these were real people, how you would act, stuff like that. And I was like, that's all I'm doing. You know what I mean? Um, but because of, you know, how I am with these shows and people understanding how I am, it became very easy to gain the favor of people in a way, but also kind of turn them off again because it happened with Together the Series. If you didn't know, I reacted Together the Series with Alex on his channel, him and his friend Amanda. And I'll admit, during those reactions, I was very, very obnoxious and very off-putting. I'll admit, I was being even more extra than I actually am on my own channel, my own reactions. And I can see why everyone was so disgusted with it. The comment sections were dragging me left and right, and it was warranted. Like I was really doing the most, and I kind of, my reasoning is that those characters in that story, I was just not with the progression of and how it was going, the characters themselves, and my response being so extra and obnoxious was response to Alex and Amanda because they were living for it. They were living for it. And I was like, oh, and I was dragging the characters, but it was all in good fun. Plus, with Amanda and Alex, that's our banter. We kind of like are extra, and we kind of like that's how we kiki when we watch these shows on our own. So I just did the same thing. I mean, I could have been more PC, a little more calm, and more like but I was talking to Alex, and it just seemed like it was hard for me to not be that way because that's how I am with him in particular. And he even defended me, even though he had different opinions than I did on the characters in the show. He still rocked with me, which I appreciated. But it was kind of like, you know, and I think that, um, you know, it's I took it with a grain of salt because I was like, I get it, I understand. Even watching myself on those videos, I was like, I'm so obnoxious and unnecessarily extra and like doing the most and my jokes. It was a lot, and I can see why it turned people off, and it was just a lot, right? But Alex came back on his channel, which my gear, my gown. We did my gear, my gown, which I had a great time reacting to that show. It reminded me of my days of watching Why Are You. I was just doing it with Alex. It was so fun. Everyone who hated me kind of came to my side again. I wasn't as obnoxious, but I also liked that story more. Like the story and the characters, how it went. I liked it a bit way more than I liked Together. So and it reflected. It reflected in that, and it was kind of a better time, you know. So in between all that, obviously you guys know I watched a bunch of Filipino dramas. Game Boys, like in the movies, Things, Corn Queens, Corn Things, and a few others. And watching Game Boys, it just gave me so much life. Watching, like in the movies, you can tell with those shows, you can tell, I'm not sure if they're based on novels, but you can tell there's like the queer creators behind them. Like you can tell there's a difference between the ones because the BL drama boys love, which I hate that term now. That's why I never use it. I never say I'm a BL reactor or watch BL dramas. I hate that term. You know, that term is so it has a to me it has a negative connotation to it, and it comes from how the characters are in the show. It comes from how the fans are with the actors, with the characters. It's a very gross, toxic pool of feelings and situations in this genre, which is why I don't like to refer to that term. I don't like that term at all, which is why I don't use it. I'm using it for this video this video's sake, but you wouldn't catch me saying BL drama or boys love. I'm not doing all that. That's it. Ugh, it makes me cringe. But you can tell because this genre is made by women for women, and it's apparent in all these other shows that's the target audience. Even though there's male characters falling in love, they're not. It's oh sorry. It's it's a lot. It's a lot. But anyways, so watching Game Boys and like in the movies, especially since they are both shows centered in one location and they had these stories told there, which is creative because he had to because of the pandemic. But he still told these powerful stories way better than these other shows that have budgets and no type of like world pandemic to slow them down. I'm like, come on now. But these shows I don't think are based on novels, so I think that's why is a better. I get the better feeling, and I kind of really enjoyed watching those shows, reacting to those shows. It was so cool to actually meet the cast of the Game Boys via Zoom and stuff like that. It's such a good time. I can't wait to watch season two. Um, but what happened was between all that, all these shows and doing all these reactions and all these things, 15,000 more reactors pop on the scene, right? It was an influx in people reacting to dramas. There was an influx of reactor to fan interaction. There was an influx in meet and greets and lives all on Twitter and all the Facebook, which part of me is kind of like it was a good time because it really was. It really was a good time. I met so many cool people that I'm still talked to this day. But there's also lots of like internal fighting, some public fighting. It was a lot going on. And from having so many people being involved, which I don't think, I'm not trying to gatekeep being a reactor to these dramas. Literally jumped on the bandwagon too just a long time ago, but I jumped on because Alex, everyone else is doing it too, jumping on because everyone else is doing it. So I'm not going to be a hypocrite with that. However, it just seems like it became to the point where I can see most people who started doing these dramas reactions, you can see they were being caricatures of all the other reactors doing what they're doing and doing this more or less extra type of reacting, which is fine. But then it crosses over to the fans who are doing it and like really wanting to like meet these actors because they saw everyone else meet the actors, so they started everything was more calculated and doing a certain way to the point where everyone was fighting with each other and doing all these things, which it didn't make any sense. And it just seems like since it was so many people involved and so many clashing personalities and so many people seemingly having an issue with one another, it just the fun of it was just lost. I mean, having to do so many live events, it was a lot. It was too much. It was too much too soon, and I felt like I just could not keep up. So as a result, I wasn't reacting as often. I wasn't going to all the lives anymore, and I kind of felt like the love to watch these shows and do these shows was lost. Especially with me because I felt like I couldn't watch these shows unless I was reacting. If I couldn't react to the shows, there's no point in me watching it. It got to that point with me with these dramas, and I hate that because I used to watch them all the time. Like I watch all these shows. I watch all these shows, and so now it's really hard because since the Filipinos dramas started dropping, there is so many dramas to watch. There's so many. I just feel like nowadays it's hard for me to keep up to see these shows because I don't know which is dropping, and in some shows it's hard to kind of know if you can react to them because now there's all these different rules now. Before there wasn't, and I feel like the shows can make the rules they want to for their dramas because at the end of the day, most of us profit off of reacting, so they can make the rules how they want to. But since some of these shows are so constricting, it's not even worth reacting to. GMMTV shows they block you. You have to be unblocked, which is takes time away from your schedule uploads. And then these other dramas you can react, but either you got to have the show is an hour and a half long, but you can only have 25 minutes of the show in your reaction. So you have to watch a whole show to cut out nearly all of it. It makes it like you're wasting your time because you're not giving your full reaction to it, or you're wasting time watching a whole hour and a half episode, sometimes a 2 hours long episode, just to not even show none of that. And it gets kind of like, are you kidding me? Are you? So as a result, it's been hard for me to keep up with the shows and watch them and react to them. Falling out of love of doing this with these dramas to feeling like I can because I don't want to deal with all the restrictions of what the showrunners want us reactors to do. And then there's so many shows that come on certain days and having to scramble to watch them. And also with me in particular, my reactions, especially recently, no one watches them, which is the reality of me not being a reactor to these shows on the forefront. I do K-pop, so like me having one show at a time isn't gonna cut it anymore. Like back in the day it was fine. Now no one's watching. No one is watching, and I don't want to say that I don't want to watch or react to shows because no one's watching. But when you're getting views and engagement and having a good time, it's more of an incentive. You know what I mean? Like I could try to figure out which is the most popular show to react to and kind of follow my peers' footsteps and do more dramas on my channel instead of just one. Because my thing was only one drama per cycle per season on my channel, and I can go to another one afterwards. But I could do multiple shows on the channel. But it just seems like it's so much and nothing. It just seems way too much trouble for me to do that. But with that being said, though, I do miss watching these dramas and reacting and kind of getting into the groove of the show and the characters. There's so many shows that people tweet about, Korean dramas, Thai dramas, everything in between, and I am just like missing out on, but I just can't be bothered to watch them because I'm like, well, I can't react to it, so what's the point? And I could watch on my own. I could literally watch on my own and tweet about it if I want to share commentary, but I just feel like it's a missed opportunity if I don't react. It's a weird mindset thing. I need to break my mindset and kind of get over myself with that because I kind of want to get back into it, but I also have a bad taste in my mouth because of all the things that have been happening with this genre as a whole. But I think what I want to do moving forward is instead of reacting to shows is do reviews. And when I say reviews, what I mean is there's this YouTuber called Amanda. I forgot her last name. What is her last name? I'm not Amanda B. Well, she's a YouTuber. She's a beauty commentary channel, and what she does is she reviews shows, and how she does it. I like how she does it. She does it character by character. So basically, a character analysis video, but all the characters at once. Which I watch her videos, a bunch of them, especially her Degrassi ones. I watched her Degrassi ones like 3 times each. I don't know why. Even though I've seen her videos already, I have to watch it again because I like her commentary as she kind of goes character by character. And I think I'm gonna do that instead of doing reaction videos. I just feel like one, I can just go ahead and watch the show, and two, I can still make a video on the show without feeling like I have to keep up with watching it on a certain day, certain time, uploading, editing. It's so time consuming, guys. It is so time consuming. And to have all that time taken away for no one to watch it for me is just, it's not worth it. It is not worth it. So what I'm gonna do, even though people might not watch my review videos, I doubt anyone's watching this video, honestly. But I still want to be involved and kind of make commentary videos, these sit back review commentary videos. This is more casual, and I kind of like it more. It's like, a podcast setting, if you will. I kind of want to do that. It's a little bit easier for me to edit these kind of videos and kind of film them in one sitting, and I kind of like it. I kind of like it. So that's what I'm gonna do. Now I think that's it. Do I have any other things to say about? I guess I could talk about some of the things I can talk about certain shows, right? Okay, so here's the thing. My favorite of all these shows that we all been watching, we all been loving, is the History series. For me, for me, History is doing it right. It's doing it right when it comes to like character development, and that's the main problem with these dramas, these BL dramas, is their romance stories through and through. Romance only shows. I just it's such a foreign concept to me because in the States, romance is also in a plot of a different type of show. Like you have like Degrassi. It's a show about teens in high school and the ups and downs of being a teen and all these other things that happen while you're a teenager. Also, love stories are woved in. They're woved in. Even dramas about college age kids or adults about the workplace, or it's a crime thriller, or it's a police procedural. Love stories are woved in. It's not the focal of the show, which is another aspect. It's another plot point. These dramas, that's not the case. Now, granted, most of them are based on novels, which are romance stories. And having the show be 16, 19, 24 episodes long does not make any sense. It's a long will they, won't they. It's honestly, it's honestly a repeated story. They get together, they break. It's depending on how long they get together, they break up, get back together again. Like it's one of those types of things where it gets kind of like not predictable, but like you know what's gonna happen. You know, they if they start booing up quickly, something's gonna happen. It's gonna be a third wheel. They're gonna like break up for a minute, but like find each other again. It's very rom com, and these aren't romantic comedy movies. They're series. And my problem is that most of these shows do not utilize anything else but the romance, which is understandable when it's based on a novel. But why not cut the episode count down? Why can't we do miniseries? Can we get and that's why I like history. History is they're shorter stories focused on relationships and it doesn't run too long. You're not doing a will they won't they for 10 episodes. You're not doing all these different tropes so long. And the thing about it is, and I want to pit against. Wait, am I saying that right? I don't want to pit Taiwanese dramas against Thai dramas. However, because the Taiwanese dramas, history and what I'm talking about, it's showing the characters one way in the beginning and how they change to the end. There's a character change with the characters, which is why I like it so much. There is none of that happening for the most part with the Thai dramas. I mean, what they do is they'll do like these like I don't call them montages. They're not montages, but they have these scenes that are fluff they're fan service that drag on too long. Like you have a scene where characters are in the kitchen bantering over a sandwich about the sandwich. I'm talking about Lovely Rider. There's so much filler content in these shows that serve no purpose but to show the characters hanging out. So it's like, oh, but it's for fan service. It's for people to be like, they trick these fans, these impressionable young fans, to thinking that this is like a romance or like they're progressing, but they're not doing anything. It's very mundane. It's like watching wallpaper dry. If you have them hanging out and it's serving a purpose, it makes more sense. Take for instance, let's talk about history. History to crossing the line, having the characters bond, having the characters bond. Oh, the characters bond over him teaching him how to play volleyball makes sense. Where they're hanging out doing something, but you see the progress in the characters, and the characters change because of that. They're less volatile towards each other. They hang out more. The one of the characters who's a jerk, like almost delinquent, like he changes from the beginning to the end. He's still kind of like a little jerk here and there because of his personality, but he is less of a jerk than he was in the beginning, and you can see it happening. You can see how his feelings for Homeboy is changing him, and vice versa. Now his love interest is not as overt because how his character is very stoic type of like character. It's not overt, but you can see the progression of his feelings and how he's acting differently. So when they do get together, it's so satisfying. It's so satisfying, even when they have like the will they won't they thing, and then there's like a big old thing that potentially breaks them up or prevents them from getting together in the first place. It's very emotional because they feel for each other, and that the progress you see it, you feel it, and it makes it such a satisfying thing when you see them overcome the sadness from the breakup or the preventative thing that happened to them actually getting together or getting back together. Is such and history be doing it so well. And I'm not saying it's perfect. They definitely kind of, especially with History 3, they kind of like went back to some of these tropes that are kind of like, and History 3 is longer, so it's kind of like, all right, this is so long, but they still did a good job with the history, in my opinion. Even History 4, History 4, I like it because, okay, here's my thing. History 1, I think, is the worst of the history series. If you guys didn't know, History has four series. Here's History 1 through 4. Each one has multiple storylines, anthology series. History 1 has three, and everybody else has two, except for History 4. History 4 has one. And History 1 is crunchy. It is crunchy. I only like one of the stories, so I will rank that one my favorite out of History 1, but it's still low on the list of all the histories. History 2 is my favorite. Yes, sir. Right or wrong and Crossing the Line are top tier. Top tier. The storytelling, the character progression, the motivations behind the characters, the doubts, the mental health issues, the hurt they feel, the way these characters. It was so good. Now it's not always lovey-dovey, and there's not a lot of fan service, which I appreciate. It makes it more realistic. It makes me root for the characters more because it's not pandering. They're just telling a good story. History 3 is lit. I'm not gonna lie. I really like History 3. It's just, it's just in both shows. One show, what's it called? Trapped. Trapped. It's called Trap. I think it's called Trap. Am I wrong? I think it's called Trap. That one, I only care about the couples. That one, I did not care about anything else that was going on, which you would think I would, because there's more to it than just the romance. But that show, I only care about the romance between the two couples. I skipped around. I was like, all this other stuff, I'm not. I have to watch it again. I do have to watch it again because the couples and the characters I really like, but the storyline around them, I couldn't care less about, and I really feel bad that I didn't really give it the attention that I feel like it probably deserves. Right? It probably deserves more attention. Um, and then Make Our Days Count had me shook. Okay, our second couple, I their age gap irks my nerves, and I like the characters themselves, so it's like fine, but also I feel like their storyline wasn't as fleshed out or had an emotional pull on me like the other couple, which I wish. I wish both couples had more of an emotional pull on their storylines. I feel like the other couple, the age gap couple, that they're the thing is I like them. I like their story for what it is. I just wish it ran a little deeper and felt we spent more time with them in more meaningful ways. Because one character was a brat, the other one was kind of like he's because the age gap he seemed more parental to him than a love. Like it was, but their main couple, I really enjoy them. They were enemies to lovers, and then the progression and the growth of the characters was really satisfying to me. I've never, I just like I. Make Our Days Count had me shook, and the twist at the not twist, but the thing at the end had me crying. I was crying like the day afterwards too. I was like in the middle of the kitchen. I just thought about the scene. I cried twice. There was one scene when Homeboy was crying in the room to his sister. It was gut wrench. Oh, sorry. It was, oh my god. And I watched that show with Alex, Chelsea, and Alyssa. We were going through it, and I cried again when I don't want to spoil it, but like if you ain't seen it already, it's spoiler warning. Don't if you don't want to be spoiled, don't watch this next part. Okay, so as you know, homeboy passed away, got hit by a car. My heart sank. These characters progress, and his character went through it, from being sick to be his parents passed away. Him living with his auntie, she dipped because she got married and had her kids, so he was on his own. He had to make this money. He had a bully who ended up the bully redeemed himself. His love interest redeemed himself tenfold. But he was going through a lot, and for him to have this slither of happiness, for him to just die. I mean, he died happy, I guess, and he died with all this hope and joy in his heart. I'm getting sad all over again. Let me stop. It hit me like a ton of bricks, and then his lover that he left behind, going through it even years later. Oh my gosh. I was mortified and hurt. The thing about it is though, we cared about these characters, how the progression went, how it went, they had the story go, the character growth and the acting, everything about it was really done so well to the point where when something happens to them, you're crying too, you're sad too, I was sad. Now we get a history four. We get to history four, and that's where things. First of all, we thought we weren't getting History 4, and I believe they're doing another story for History 4. Don't quote me on that. I could be wrong, but I feel like they are. I feel like I read that somewhere. But anyways, this one right here, I watched it with Alyssa and Jordy, and then eventually Shecky joined. Um, and this history, it ain't. I wish I would have reacted to it. I wish we can't react to these shows. They block it, but I wish I would have reacted to it. But it I just first of all, the first episode, you can see the frame rate, which I don't know why they chose that frame rate. It was like 60 frames per second. I was like, why are they shooting this frame rate? It's so high. It's so jarring to look at. It's like you're watching a home movie on on a cassette, not cassette, but a camera recorder. The frame it was so weird to see that. Um, and then you had the characters. Now, the problem was I don't say some of the characters I really liked. I mean, I kind of liked all the characters in some shape or form. And the show didn't go the route that you thought it was going to go, because homeboy was like trying to date this girl and pretend to be with his homeboy because she likes that kind of stuff. And I'm glad that didn't drag on too long. But because that kind of stuff happens in these dramas. They like to like let's pretend to be boyfriends so this girl can like me. Like how does that work out? That was dumb. And his friend going along with it without having any motivations for himself to do so was weird. But anyways, we got away from that, and they became like a couple, and they became like a thing, and like it was fine. It was fine. But then the second couple, the stepbrothers, that was the weirdest. I just don't understand that, because this story they could have not become a couple and kind of had the commentary on they shouldn't be together because they are brothers, and they're not blood brothers, they're like step brothers, but their parents, it's a lot, it's complicated. But him being fall in love with him when he was a kid, and now he's of age, so now they're like, it was, I don't know. I feel like History 4 had its moments of being very, very cringy and just upsetting, and kind of like you're not really rooting for these characters. Even their main couple, I was kind of like not with it for a while. It kind of got to that point for me. I was like, okay, all right, I ship you guys. But before, I was like, nah, I'm not shipping y'all. I'm not shipping y'all. But it was a good time watching it. I was watching with everyone else. It was really fun to watch it and kind of give our commentary and joke around. It was a good time. And the wedding scene, and it connected to History 3. Our Make Our Days Count characters came through, and I was like so shook by that. Like they all came through. I kind of wish everyone came through from all the histories. That would have been too lit. That would have been too lit. I would have lost my mind. um, Now another thing I want to talk about is the Filipino dramas. Like I said before, I feel like they were handled with a care that you just don't see in the Thai dramas often. I'm not saying you don't see it at all, especially with more modern shows. It's just I feel like they came out the gate swinging with these shows, and you can tell there's so much care to the actual characters, and what they represent. Watching Game Boys, the actors really came through. The actors really came through. Those emotional scenes had me shook. Even like the scenes where they were hanging out and like being together, it just felt so real. Those actors, I don't know, they really had me like, I thought they seemed like a real couple. Like it was hitting. And then you got like in the movies, which, first of all, that soundtrack is hitting. It's hitting that soundtrack. When I tell y'all that soundtrack is A1 since day one. Ha ha ha. It is top tier. It is a top tier soundtrack. And then the actors did a good job, and the commentary they had, social commentary in the show was so good. It was so good. Like in the movies, really kind of ate the girls up. It really ate the girls up. And then you had there's a trifecta: Game Boys, not Maker Days Count. Oh my god, Game Boys, like in the movies, and Hello Stranger. Wait, yeah, that's the name of it, right? I never watched that one. We couldn't react to it, so I didn't watch it. I'm not sure how good it is. I'm not sure how good the movie is. I didn't see it. I don't care to at this point. I really don't. No shade to the show, the actors, everyone with that. I just cannot be bothered at this point. But watching these Filipino dramas, it reignited my feelings for this genre as a whole and where it could go. But like I said early in the video, I just feel a disconnect with everything as a whole, but I really want to connect to it again. So I'm just going to do reviews. I want to start with shows I've seen before and get my thoughts and opinions that I didn't ever give because I wasn't reacting to those shows back then, and I probably can't now. I hope to do a show reaction in the future one day. I was going to do Don't Say No, but I decided against it. I'm just going to do a review on that. I just can't be bothered, but I really hope you guys still want to see me do videos on the subject matter. I think I'm gonna do two moons first. Maybe do two moons two later at some point, but two moons first, and I think maybe Sodas. I'll do a review on those shows. I can't wait to get into it with y'all. So yeah, let me know your thoughts and opinions on what I just talked about. Please don't drag anybody who enjoys these shows. I enjoy these shows, even though I have problems with certain characters and plot points, particularly in the Thai dramas. Just don't drag anyone. Don't go to anyone. Don't. I'm not talking about anyone in particular who loves this and kind of like don't do theories and try to dig it more deep than it is. But let me know your opinions on what I said. What do you think about these shows, the novels, if you read them, the genre as a whole? Let me know. I may do a part two to this video. Maybe I kind of have more thoughts. I think, or I kind of want to have a talk with my peers maybe about this. But yeah, if you guys enjoyed this video, please let me know by giving me a thumbs up, subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next video.